Hey YouTube, I'm Mark Hennings. I'm a founder, I'm a software developer, and I'm a YouTuber. I'm excited to be back with this video where I explain what AI agents are. We've been seeing them all over the internet, right? Shopify here, Agentic storefronts. AI shopping is here. Stripe, the new standard for agentic commerce. I didn't know there was an old standard. HubSpot, built-in AI agents that work for you 24/7. Salesforce, welcome to the Agentic Enterprise. That sounds big. What is it? Databricks, the database your AI agents deserve. Atlassian, unleash your teams and their agents. The first place I want to start with this explanation of AI agents is in the simplest place. And that is looking at how we think of agents when we actually talk outside of the tech sphere. So like a travel agent, a support agent, what does it mean to be an agent when we use that term in everyday life? And the definition is a person or business authorized to act on another's behalf. This is actually a decent starting point for us, because if we just cross out a person or business, and we replace it with a software system, then we can call an agent a software system authorized to act on another's behalf. And we could almost call it good, but I think that the topic deserves going a little bit deeper. But at least we have a starting point before we head into the clouds here. There's another definition for agent, and this one is important to know because it's actually from 1995 in this book called Artificial Intelligence, A Modern Approach. And this is the formal technical definition for an AI agent. Here it is in chapter 2, very early on in the book. An agent is anything that can be viewed as perceiving its environment through sensors and acting upon that environment through actuators. Okay, if you're going into the field of AI, this is a very useful definition to know. And the book builds on this extensively. There's a small problem with spending too much time on this definition right now. And that problem is that it's not really what people are talking about with AI agents. Yes, I think that every AI agent out there does fit this definition, but we're talking about something a little bit different. And it's really the generative AI piece here in 2026 that makes it different. So to get to the root of this, to help us understand what's happening in the world, what's happening in B2B SaaS and software development, why don't we take a look at how the AI providers are actually defining agents? Here's a definition from Anthropic. Agents are systems where LLMs dynamically direct their own processes and tool usage, maintaining control over how they accomplish tasks. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Let's see what the other providers say. If we go to OpenAI, under this Agents SDK, they say an agent is a large language model. Whoa, an agent is a large language model? It's not a large language model. Configured with instructions, tools, and optional runtime behaviors such as handoffs, guardrails, and structured outputs. That's a laundry list of items. And by the way, OpenAI has more than one definition on the topic. An agent is a system that carries out a task with 3 components: a trigger, a process that may include specialized skills, and tools or systems it can connect to. Here's a third one from OpenAI. Agents are systems that independently accomplish tasks on your behalf. No wonder we were all confused and we're watching this video, because anywhere we go on the internet to look up what an agent is, we're getting a different definition. Let's see what Google has to say. Agents are systems that leverage Gemini models. This actually says agents are systems that leverage specifically Gemini models. So is one that uses OpenAI not an agent? If I was just reading this, I might think that. Then a set of tools, reasoning capabilities to perform complex multi-step tasks and achieve specific goals. Here on Google Cloud, they say, for what is an agent? AI agents are software systems that use AI to pursue goals and complete tasks on behalf of users. By the way, are you tired of hearing the word agent yet? I feel like I've been saying it a lot. but not nearly as much as you will see it on certain web pages. I was reading here about custom agents from Google on their agent development kit page, and I decided to just look up how many times it was used on the page. 259 times. We also have to remember that agent is a buzzword. I mean, there is no reason to use it that many times unless you're really trying to drive home, for one reason or another, that you are in the lead on agents. So if we try to look at those definitions and extract some common threads from them, agents are described as being goal-oriented. They'll continue working on a task until they've decided that the goal is hopefully achieved. They work relatively independently. So they'll work on a task to completion on behalf of, say, a human user, and then sometimes they'll ask for additional input, or they could work on it without input. That tends to lead to more long-running tasks. They're capable, they can handle complex tasks, divide them into steps, and then choose appropriate tools to use for the job. Agents perform reasoning in a sense, right? They don't reason like a human, but they perform their version of reasoning, and they consider multiple solutions and choose a path. They also have some form of memory, not like human memory, but they basically can save information to a database and then look it up. They rely on something called retrieval augmented generation. I have a video that discusses the difference between that, commonly called RAG, fine-tuning, and prompt engineering. But they do something that's like memory. So the key point to take away from all of this, basically we're defining agents largely by what they can do. So what are the things that they do? There's actually quite a few things. So they're goal seeking. They're continuing until a goal is hopefully achieved. They're reasoning, like we just talked about. They're considering relevant ideas before determining action. They're making observations, gathering information, and trying to build up their own context to have a better shot at being right. Agents perform planning activities where they break a goal down into discrete steps. They'll attempt to clarify information. So if a human is in the loop, then the agent can stop and elicit questions to direct its flow. There's role playing. This is an old trick from prompt engineering, right? Where you can say you are a systems architect. What is the best way to process this data? And so the LLM can look at a problem from a specific perspective. And if you do that with different roles and then put it all together, you get interesting results. Self-reflection is an important thing that LLMs need to do because their first prediction is not always optimal. So self-reflection is asking if there were any errors in the previous work. And a lot of times they can actually look at it and they can catch an error, see that they missed a step or lied to you, maybe. Agents also, as part of this, you can start to visualize a lot of those things have to happen in a certain order. They'll do things sequentially or they'll loop. The idea of this is essentially they're iterating on work using a technique to try to improve the quality. Agents can branch out. If you picture that agents with different roles, they could each look at a problem from their own perspective and then put all of them back together. Another good example of branching is if you have a research task, you might need to research 5 different things. So you can have an agent do the searches and the scraping of the URLs for each part of the research. And then at the end, put it all together. That's just really a way to save time, right? Managing context is super important because we do have actual constraints on what the LLMs are capable of in terms of how much information you can feed them at a time and how effective they are at analyzing and understanding that information. So LLM agents have to summarize or filter previous work, save information, and then dynamically load memories when it's hopefully relevant. Routing is the idea that you could have different models or different agents or different systems that specialize in a part of the work. And so you can have a router that will assign, it'll take the input and say this input would best be processed by this agent or using this model from this provider. So they can perform that specialized task of choosing where to assign the work. And the thing that I think is most important about what agents do is they use tools. Tools are like the glue that connects the LLM to the rest of your software, to where the LLM says, I think we need to use this tool. Examples of using tools, we've talked about loading web pages, right? But the bread and butter of this is basically calling APIs and executing code or running commands on your local operating system, which kind of opens up the whole web, right? And anything connected to the web. So anything physical that's connected to the web, an agent could control it if you give it permission. One key point to take away from all of this is that agentic capabilities are really a combination of traditional software and AI prompting. It's exploring the potential of what you can do when you loop, when you branch. All these things are software constructs that we've had for a long time. But when you add LLMs into the picture and you explore like what it means when the LLM gets to make certain decisions, then it just kind of explodes the potential of things you can do or try to do. And also all of the optimization paths. A lot of these things are optimizations we're trying to make in what LLMs give us. Like, we know it's not right out of the box. That's why we went from single shot prompting to like few shot prompting and then chain of thought. And we just kept adding all of these things to squeeze more out of the models. Agents are really a software wrapper around the model. Now, when you hear the term agentic AI out in the wild, I would think of it as basically any software that performs at least some of these activities using a generative AI model. So that's why any company can kind of like throw this term around loosely, is because there's no strict definition that really prevents you from using it. Like if you're doing some of this stuff, you can kind of call it agentic and get away with it. While we did discuss what agents can do, I don't want to forget to discuss what they don't do yet, right, in 2026. And the first thing that generative AI agents do not do is evolve. I think this is a big misconception in like the mainstream culture. People are scared of this idea that AI is evolving fast, right? But in reality, the capabilities of an agent are static. They don't change suddenly. They're defined by code like any other software program. The code doesn't evolve, okay? And it doesn't change over time, except through intentional software updates. I don't think agents are particularly scary unless you give them permissions that they just have no business having. Like, don't give them write permissions to your production database, for example. Like, just a bad idea. But again, it's humans that are making these decisions. So another thing that they don't do, in the law definitions, you'll see that they learn. And while they do learn, it's really just storing a track record of what they've thought about or been told, and they have to look that up and then insert it back into their own prompt. So they don't learn in a human way. The learning we talk about is very rudimentary. And finally, the last thing I'll discuss that they don't do is robust reasoning. So while they do reason, or we call it reasoning because that's an easy concept for us to understand and it kind of looks like reasoning, the way I would think about it is that generative AI reasoning is like the AI model is basically expanding its own context for a better shot at being correct. But there are still no guarantees. So as we're starting to wrap up here, it's just the fact that agent means a lot of things. As an everyday term, we use it like, a travel agent, that's a person or business authorized to act on another's behalf. Or now maybe we say a software system authorized to act on another's behalf. Agent has a formal definition in the field of AI, which is useful to know, but also doesn't explain how people are using the term today. It's a software construct. So we saw that example from the Google Docs where they're actually referring to only Gemini software. And so agent has its own meaning in the context of agentic APIs and SDKs. Let's be real, agent is also a buzzword. It's a signal that we are on the cutting edge and people are just slapping agentic on anything that they possibly can to grab customers or make sure their investors are happy. And finally, it's an extremely useful kind of software. So AI agents, whatever you want to call them, they're very useful. Here's my final thought to leave you with today. And it's just zooming back out to the big picture. Agents represent the transition from conversational chatbots to solving real-world problems with AI. That's really what's happening. We had ChatGPT, we could talk to it, but now we're using those LLMs to solve more business problems in daily life. And it doesn't necessarily involve a conversation. We can actually set the AI loose and hopefully, we hope, get a good result. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be making more like it. And then also, I'd love to connect with you if you're on LinkedIn. Scan that QR code or come find me. Thanks. Bye.